there guys! Well, I've come across this little kit, thought I'd let you have a look. Certainly quite an interesting little kit that I'm finding out so far. It's the Guns and Weapons kit from, sort of camouflage set from Lifecolor. It's quite an interesting little set. I'll open the box and let you see inside. Now, weapons and guns, you've got your two different tones of wood colours here for the stocks of your weapons. But the really interesting bit in this kit is your three paints here and your pigment. Now, what this is for giving different undertones of metal. So, I found it quite interesting as a concept. Thought, right, let's have a little look at this. So, what the concept behind it is this is a dry pigment, and depending on which paint you wish to use here, you'd mix your dry pigment with the paint before applying it. So I shall give that a wee go. I'm going to spray up some little eBay Special Marines to try and give you an idea how this paint works, to try and let you see on a detailed piece what it actually does. So guys, I'll be back in a minute where I'll be starting with the gun blue reflection with the pigment mixed into it, the reflecting agent. Back shortly guys. Right guys, what I'm going to show you first of all is just the actual texture of this paint. It's a nice fluid paint, but when you start thinking about it being an additive for pigment use, you think it might well be transparent, but this is actually a very opaque looking paint. So I just thought I'd let you have a wee look at that. Now I'm going to take a paint, just mixing it before popping it into the airbrush. To take the actual paint there, I'm going to physically add my dry pigment to the paint, and I'm going to take and mix that in the pot. So that's how you prep the paint. So I'm just going to take and thin this slightly with some Lifecolor thinner, and I'll be back when it's in the airbrush. Right, just like the military, we have got our volunteer number 1. So here he is, and I'll give him a coat over with this. Oops, a bit strong on the pull back there. And give him that reasonably even coat over. These are just primed in grey primer. Seems to be spraying on quite nicely anyway, giving a reasonably even smooth coat. Right, I shall let him dry and pop back with the next shade. With our next, right, this is the colour we'll be going in with. This is a gun red reflection, and I'll be mixing that also with the reflective agent and a little bit of Lifecolor thinner. Just letting you see there that it's the same texture as the blue one. So back in a moment. Well, in he comes, volunteer number 2 for the red reflection. and roll round them. That seems to be pretty good coverage. So that's volunteer number 2 complete. Back shortly with number 3. So volunteer number 3 will be getting the gun grey reflection, and yet again it's same texture of paint, opaque again, so I shall get on and mix this with the pigment and thinner and be back shortly. There he is, there's volunteer number 3. Gun grey reflection and pigment. Let's see how we go. And again, applying really nicely. Sure I get them all covered. There we go. Right, I shall let our 3 volunteers go and dry, and I'll be back when they're all dry. Well, we have our 3 volunteered subjects there, on top of their respective paint colours. And the next thing we need to do with the paint once it's dried is to go in with a stiff brush. I'm using an old GW dry brush, and start rubbing away at it. So let's see how we go here. Let's start with our blue reflection first. I hope you can see that's beginning to polish up quite nicely. Catching all the nice detail in the edges. Yeah, it's looking quite impressive so far. Obviously, depending on the intensity of this effect that you wish, the more or less polishing work you'll do. So far this looks to be giving a really rather pretty effect. As I say, this kit's designed for weapons, but as we know, the humble Space Marine seems to be a reasonably large portion of the wargaming and modelling hobby, so I thought it would be reasonably representative of what this could do for us, as well as for the scale modelling side. Yes, you could choose to use it singularly on your weapons, but don't just think because it says guns and weapons on the box that that's all you could be using it for. Yeah, I'm going to go in, as well as using a dry brush, and try in some areas to use a cotton bud to see how that goes, see if it gives a more subtle effect. A very good cotton bud. Gives a slightly softer effect, I think. It might leave too much residue. I'll go back to the dry brush. The answer is don't be afraid to experiment with a paint or a new thing you come across. That's how you'll find out how it works for you. And never be afraid for trying it with something other than what it says on the box. Right. As you can see, that's definitely come up quite nicely. I'm going to go ahead and do this with the other two boys and pop back and let you see them when they've all had roughly the same amount of polish up. Well, that's our Marines, had a nice little polish like they should do. So I'll take you in and let you have a little bit closer look. That's our Marine with the blue reflection. Let's take it a little bit closer there, let you see him. You can see how all the high points where the brush has been in contact have polished up to a really nice silver tone. But your blue reflective tone is still in the recesses. Obviously, depending on the effect you wish, you can take more or less of your blue tone back with the polishing. But I think that gives a really good idea of what's going on there. I'm certainly rather impressed at these. Let's move on to our boy with the red gun red reflection. There we go, just take that out a wee second so you can see it a bit easier. There he is. Yet again, that's a lovely sort of dark sort of corroded rust colour in the bases, but without it being a heavily rusted piece. But a lovely warm deep rosy tone. So I'm certainly very, very impressed at these, and I'll be looking for places to use them. It's one of these paints that once you start using it, you start looking to see what else you can apply it to. And my brain's running away with itself on those ideas. And here's the boy with the gun grey reflection. And he really is quite spick and span. I'll put up some photos of these as well to let you see just how bright this is. But certainly it's come up really, really pretty. And just out of interest, I don't know if you noticed, but I sprayed my nail by mistake when I was airbrushing them. Don't know if you can see the sheen on that. Got quite a fright when I noticed that. So yes, you can really see how reflective that is on the bigger, flatter surface of my nail. But that's exactly what the small surfaces are like on the miniature. So I'll get some photos up of these guys and let you have a closer look at them, but I'm exceptionally impressed by them so far. Take care, guys. Well guys, another little addition. When you've finished doing what you want to do with this paint and have achieved the effect you wish, give it a good seal with your preferred medium, as you would do with any paint or substance that contains a movable pigment. So if you get a chance to try this one out, have a wee play about, see what you can find for ways of using it. It's definitely an interesting one to play with. So take care guys, and have lots of fun!